Congrats on the recent $10 million huge fundraise.
We raised another 2 million. That's brought in about 1,500 new people from the community who hold tokens. And yeah, now it's eyes down, heads down on TGE. So the EAT token will launch. I'm hungry. Everyone's hungry.
So am I. We all are, yeah.
The vast majority of revenue that we bring in from data sales will go to accruing value to the token in the form of buy and burn, 80%, so a very large slug. 40% of the rewards from the EAT token go to the community. We'll announce our first partnership there shortly, and that's one of these data exchanges which have McDonald's and Spotify and American Express as existing customers. So that will enable us to sell into those channels.
Congrats on the recent $10 million huge fundraise, led by Delphi and Strobe and Hack, with participation from Sixman, EV3 Arca, a bunch of other folks. What was the motivation behind this round, and how did it come together? I remember talking to you guys maybe in the summer, and you were thinking about a raise. But yeah, just give us kind of the backstory on this latest raise.
Firstly, it's obviously great to have these partners on board, and the process and the collaboration that we've had with many and all of them has been brilliant. So I'm super grateful that they believed in what we're doing. We're approaching TGE, so we intended to do a pre-TGE round, and brought in just some awesome investors and had further investment from some of our original investors, which is obviously shows great confidence. So I'm really pleased with where it netted out. Obviously it's a bit of a wild market, always. But so things go fast and go slow, and then go really fast and then go really slow. Now we're full steam ahead, and we've also just wrapped up an oversubscribed round on CoinList,
awesome.
Which was,
I was gonna ask how that went.
That was we were I mean, despite the big sell-off on Friday, we still managed to oversubscribe that round, which I think, again, a very positive sign.
How much did you raise there?
We raised another 2 million.
Nice, good stuff.
And that's brought in about 1,500 new people from the community who hold tokens. And yeah, now it's eyes down, heads down on TGE, which is coming up in 2 or 3 weeks. So the EAT token will launch. I'm hungry. Everyone's hungry.
So am I. We all are, yeah. That's awesome. Well, very cool. And then maybe if you could just catch our listeners up on the supply side. There's a couple different kind of devices or ways to get involved today. Maybe if you could just give us a quick lay of the land on the different devices, how to get involved, and then maybe like number of each, right, that are out in the wild, or where they're deployed in the world, or those kinds of things.
Sure. So the two sensors that we have available to the participants in the network are 375 Edge and 375 Go. 375 Edge is a advanced kind of mini data center with a whole host of sensors, primarily and I guess most importantly 6 very specialized cameras, which and then a whole host of NVIDIA GPU that then crunch and interpret all of that information into usable data. So what we're doing is digitizing the analog and turning the real world into digital information. So we compress, at each site, a terabyte of raw video into 30 megabytes of data. That has been rolled out over the past 6 months. the initial market was Los Angeles. We have 25 or 20 or so deployments there. We're now deploying as we speak in New York and New Jersey, followed very shortly by South Florida, Miami type area. So we'll be neighbors. So capture the movement of millions of vehicles a day down to very granular information, what the car is, how many people are in the car, all the characteristics of the car. And then for commercial vehicles, everything from the logo on the side of the truck, the email addresses that are listed, the US Department of Transport number, which that information is very, very valuable for, obvious ones like transport and logistics, but maybe slightly less obvious is in financial services, who will use this information to understand economic performance, predict performance of certain businesses, whether Amazon or FedEx or UPS have increased or decreased movement on certain routes. That can impact how they forecast the performance of those businesses. So that's the first side. The second side is 375 Go. This is a mobile app, which I guess we kind of consider as the smallest sensor on the network. We have just wrapped up testnet in advance of TGE and mainnet launch, and we've had hundreds of thousands of downloads. We have 250,000 users or more, and really what that's doing is today capturing passive information. So you download it, you connect your wallet, you allow permissions, and it will then capture location information as well as other RF data, so radio frequencies from your cell phone company, your Wi-Fi networks, your Bluetooth, etc., as well as perform intermittent speed tests. And what that enables is us to get a very real-time understanding of the RF makeup of the world, as well as the performance of and quality of service of various connection types.
Super cool. And then, so on the 375 Edge, I mean, you said there's 25 deployed, but they're very expensive, right? And they also can see most of the traffic, like a high percentage of the traffic in any given city, given kind of where they're positioned. So I just want to, I guess, establish that for our listeners in terms of like a lot of deep-in devices, you think you need millions or tens of millions kind of all around the world. These are very different, both in kind of how expensive they are, how much they can see, all of that stuff. How do you think about like the go-to-market to fund more of these, right? Like, are you guys deploying them yourselves? Do you have investors that have bought them? How many do you want to get out there over the next 6 to 12 months? Just given how unique kind of a piece of hardware they are.
Yeah, I mean, so you're right to point out they are expensive, but that's because they're very advanced and they cost a lot of money to make.
Yeah.
So yeah, we sell them for $50,000 a piece, but that's because they are a mini data center. And they're computing everything at the edge. Nothing is sent into the cloud, and it's turning a terabyte of information into 30 megabytes every day. So the people who've purchased them, so yes, all of those 50 were sold to the community, and we intend to do a further sale of maybe another 100 units before the end of this year. You're right to point out that we don't need tens of thousands of these. I mean, if we get to 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, that is going to just be a huge amount of coverage. In the LA metro or Los Angeles County, we've deployed 20 devices. We see about 40% of all vehicles that are on the road in any given day, every day. So
it's awesome.
The critical mass we can achieve with a relatively small number of devices, strategically positioned, and one of the things that I've certainly discovered as being part of Deepin as it's evolved is that not all places are created equal. And, now with helium, for example, really where you've got these things really matters. There's no such thing as, I hate to say it, proof of coverage anymore. But there isn't. And, you're no longer rewarded for just that alone. You're rewarded on the results. So you might have to change your podcast name.
Yeah, we're gonna have to reestablish what that means. But that makes a lot of sense. Have you heard of fractals? It's basically
Yeah, no,
yeah.
of course. I know Shan for a long while from XNet and so on, and I think what they're doing is great.
Yeah, I mean, I see it as potentially a way for, I mean, there's a lot of different deepins, right? It's GeoNet, Helium, and XNet right now, but potentially a way for 375 AI to like crowdfund, future deployments potentially, right? Maybe even before they're out in the wild.
Yeah, no, we've certainly explored, and will almost certainly fractionalize our nodes to enable people to purchase them without spending $50,000 by spending
Right.
$100,000. Sorry, $100.
Right. Yeah.
And owning then a slice of a unit's output. So I think the concept is great, and we're definitely exploring that partnership for sure. And I think what they're doing is spot on. And again, it like encourages good deployments in great places, which I think is
100%.
something that Deepin needs. Whether it's for us, GeoNet, Helium, the list goes on.
Well, yeah, let's jump back into it. I mean, one question I think I saw repeated a lot online from the community is a lot of excitement around potential new feature hardware. So 375 Street and Vault on your website. Is there a plan in terms of timeline for release for those? Like, how do you see them fitting into the 375 AI ecosystem?
375 Street is probably, or is more advanced than 375 Vault. But I think 375 Street is going to evolve more in the direction of something that we've called 375X, which is the ability to ingest existing feeds, pass that through our same computer vision AI, extract the information, and then store it in the same manner that we do 375 Edge. So what that means is that in any doorbell camera or camera feed that is already out there, i.e. like a brownfield deployment of cameras, can be incorporated into the network and supported, and the same information can be extracted and placed into the kind of data lake. So people will have we're going to be opening up the ability for people to bring their own device.
Super cool. I mean, that's very bullish for supply side growth for sure. And then what about Vault? Is Vault still on the kind of timeline for coming out?
So it's not going to happen this year. I think it will happen in the early part of next year. We plan to keep all the information that we capture and collect forever. So the storage needs will continue to grow, and particularly as supply increases, and if we enable anyone to plug in any camera, number one, the processing of that data is going to be extreme and costly. Then the long-term storage of that information in a usable manner is also that. So we're toying with different ways to tackle those problems. We're working with a number of other Deepin projects, both on compute and storage, and Vault will form a part of that, most likely in collaboration with another Deepin or several, to enable it, because we're really focused on capturing the data itself as opposed to necessarily storing it, but it's a necessary evil.
For sure. Yeah. And then let's talk about demand side. So I know it's early still, right? Pre-TGE, but if you could just talk a bit about like the initial use cases you're seeing um, for the data, in terms of demand, and then also like we always have to ask for a bit of alpha here on the Proof of Coverage podcast. So if there's any customer names or POCs or revenue numbers you can share, would love to hear them in terms of how the demand side is shaping up.
So yes, we began signing data deals. We are focusing our efforts on doing partnerships with data platform providers. So, and the kind of broader industry is DMPs, data management platforms. These businesses already have hundreds or thousands of customers that are using those platforms to manage their own data, whether that's their first party customer information or acquiring other data sets to amalgamate and mix with their first party data. So with every deal of that type that we cut, it gets us exposure to hundreds, if not thousands of customers at a time. So we've signed and will announce our first partnership there shortly. And that's one of these data exchanges which have McDonald's and Spotify and so on as existing, American Express as existing customers. So that will enable us to sell into those channels.
Super cool. I mean, yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense to go where the demand is already, right? And not have to build out a whole sales force for the end customer and just go to the platforms. And you can always go to the end customer yourself, kind of cut out the middleman eventually if you think it makes sense. But
exactly. Before I was at Linksys, the businesses I started and sold were all in the data space, and the customers that I had were these types of data marketplaces. So I'm familiar with selling into those channels. And then, when you get to a certain level of scale with certain customers, you end up having direct relationships with them. But often it's still working in conjunction with these platforms because that's, their preferred route. So, but it as you rightly say, it enables us to get scale without building, a 100-person sales team.
Yeah. And then another question I saw pretty frequently online was just around the token economy. So if you could maybe share a bit about how you see the EAT token playing into this whole kind of token economy here. Is there a plan for value accrual to that token from like revenue that the equity entity is bringing in, for instance, in deals that they're signing? Like what can people look out for with regards to the token?
Yeah, the vast majority of revenue that we bring in from data sales will go to accruing value to the token in the form of buy and burn, 80%. So a very large slug. 40% of the rewards from the EAT token go to the community. They will be issued over a period of 8 years. So they will, as soon as CGE happens, there is a chunk of which it's just rewarding the testnet participants, and then the remainder of that community rewards gets distributed, with every epoch.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I'd seen the 80% number floating around somewhere on Twitter, so good to hear it confirmed here. What's it been like building on Solana? Obviously, before I think we started recording, we were talking about you were just recording some content with them, and they're doing a great job of championing DePIN and championing 375 AI. But yeah, like what's the kind of experience been like? Maybe not from like a technical selection of like this chain versus that chain, but what's it been like interacting with the foundation, building on Solana, being in the DePIN ecosystem they've created?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say that Solana is the home of DePIN for the most part, and they are investing resources and energy and mindshare on remaining in that position. And that, as a result, means that businesses like 375 AI benefit greatly from their championing of this space. And yeah, we're doing lots and lots of stuff with them. We're also collaborating a lot with other deep in businesses, and I've been lucky enough to get to know many of the other founders in this space, and we're all fighting the good fight, and aren't, with all that we do, for one another and for our own businesses, all ships rise.
100%. Yeah, I've heard that echoed by many deep in founders as well, as there's like a sense of camaraderie, which I think is great. The pie is large and it's growing quickly. Cool. We covered a lot. Is there anything that you want to hit that we haven't in terms of topics or questions or anything else?
Well, I imagine by the time you're watching this, ETH is in the wild and live on lots of exchanges, and I'm just super grateful for everyone who's supported us, both our investors and our community members, and friends such as yourself.
Sure.
For putting up with me. And yeah, we're really excited about what we're doing. I, as a technology enthusiast, am just amazed by some of the stuff we're doing, frankly. And I'll share some demos and stuff with you, which maybe you can tag onto this, that I think will be useful to visualize really what it is that we are capturing. It's fascinating.
100%. Well, that's a great place to leave off. It's time to build. Excited to see you guys use this funding to take 375 AI and deep into the next level. So appreciate you coming on here.
Awesome. Thanks, Connor. See you soon.